Hello, I'm Julie Buchholtz. I'm a registered dietitian and I work in pediatrics at Mayo Clinic, Rochester. It's an exciting time of the year to go back to school, but for parents it can be also a very anxious time of the year with kids going back to school on special diets. Safety is an issue for parents, and for kids it's just wanting to fit in with all their peers. In terms of safety, I always encourage parents to meet with their teacher, with their school, with their coach, or any of the areas that their child is going to participate in, just to talk to them about their child's gluten-free diet and their special needs in terms of snacks and food being served in those areas. I also ask parents to meet with their food service supervisor, or there's a dietitian or nutritionist in the food service for their school. Meeting with them ahead of time can help parents have a better understanding of what foods are available in the school system, and also help the child get to potentially choose some of the foods that they want to eat, and help the parents plan for those meals. There's also a 504 plan where you can meet with the principal and discuss this plan. This plan is really outlines the child's need to be on a gluten-free diet, and most schools, based on American Disabilities Act, should be able to or try to accommodate this diet as best as they can. A big thing about going back to school is kids just want to fit in. Usually kindergartners, first graders, they're just so excited to be in school that they don't really worry about that. But after about second grade, kids start to really want to fit in. And this is where the other kids might notice that they're eating something different. So it's important as parents, is when we go back to school, is preparing lunches if the child doesn't like what they're eating or what's served at school, is prepare a lunch that's somewhat similar to what other kids might be eating that day. You also can enlist your own child in selecting foods that they're going to want to eat for those meals. Now, when it comes to having a nutritious meal, we want to make sure that when you're choosing lunches from home, that you include whole grains, fruits, vegetables, a protein, a little bit of fat, and a dairy if your child can tolerate that too. In the past, sometimes a gluten-free diet was not always very nutritious, especially some of the packaged items that were out on the market. But nowadays, these companies are really trying to improve the nutrition quality of foods that you might put in a school lunch coming from home. Another way that you'll want to be prepared is there's always a birthday party, there's always a sleepover, there is always a sporting event that snacks will be served. You should always make sure your child is prepared for that event by having their own snacks so that they also don't feel left out, especially when everyone is enjoying a cupcake at somebody's birthday party. You may want to talk to your teacher about when the other children or their parents are bringing in these special treats, so that your child can also be prepared to have their special treat. Another way to be prepared is making sure that your teacher has a stash or a supply of gluten-free snacks available to your child if some special event does come up and that you did not know about it. And this just helps again to make sure that your child does feel included and feel like their peers. In terms of other things to be thinking about for the school year, is there are some school supplies that also contain gluten. Things like Play-Doh, paper mache, certain glues, and certain clays have wheat in them. So it's important to make sure that their hands are clean so they don't cross-contaminate their meals. As a parent, we're always trying to educate our child, and as a kindergartner, the most important thing to make sure your kindergartner is prepared for is just to know the basics of the gluten-free diet. Just know that wheat, rye, barley, those are some grains that they should not eat. But other than that, kindergartners they're not reading, so they're really relying on adults to make sure that their food supply is safe. In terms of first graders can start to self-advocate, and so they can start to speak up a little bit. So teach them to speak up as they order meals or as they ask about the food label or the foods that are being served to them. At any age, though, you always want to teach your child to always have a backup plan, that they always have snacks in their backpacks, and they're prepared for sporting events or just hanging out with their friends, so that they always have a stash of something that they enjoy to eat when they're with their peers. For college kids leaving the house, Some things that you might want to think about is looking at colleges that actually cater to a gluten-free diet, that they have a food service that has that ability to provide that diet. Also, when you're visiting the college, talk to the nutritionist, talk to the food service provider to see what's available to them, and actually just eat in the cafeteria. Some colleges have gluten-free support groups. It could be a student group that you might want to join in on. And lastly, if you're not independent at this point in terms of reading food labels and choosing your own food sources, it's a good thing to do that as just before you go to college, to make sure that you can choose your own food sources safely. There can be a lot of anxiety for parents as we send our kids off to school, but the main important thing is just to keep a positive can-do attitude about having a gluten-free diet. There are so many snacks and foods and restaurants and resources available to those that are eating gluten-free that there just never were before.